back. WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. If you are watching out on YouTube or on our Facebook or anywhere out in the cosmos, you see that I have my pink seersucker on. I have my pink shirt on. It is my Black-Eyed Susan attire, and I'm wearing my Sporticulture hat, and, of course, my Keep the Preakness in Baltimore pin that I think Martin O'Malley's brother handed me as I walked through the infield last year. I've channeled Charlie Ekman already once this week. If I can get a little coffee going out of the cup here, my Rofo cup, and maybe I'll channel that for this guy. I'm trying to bring on people that knew Charlie Ekman this week to talk about the Preakness. And Dick Jerardi, you and I have talked about the Preakness not being run on the third weekend of May in Baltimore many, many times in some sort of fiction and nonfiction way. And dude, here we are. So I'm only calling a couple of you. I mean, there's you, there's McGee, maybe a couple of others that I'll think about this week. None of the national friends of ours. I haven't bothered, any of the trainers or Bob Baffert or anybody like that. But for people that this means something to, the Preakness, and it dates time in their life and passage of time in their life and secretariat and all that stuff. This is weird, and I don't want to, overblow it because of coronavirus and how weird everything is for life up in Philadelphia for you and your family and all the remnants of your family down here in Baltimore and Rogers Forge, as I always like to say. But this is the strangest of times, and I did say, am I going to talk about the Preakness a little bit on the radio this week? And I thought, well, I should, but there's only a couple people I'm going to talk to because we're not talking about what horse is going to win a race, right?
No, unfortunately, we are not talking about what horse is going to win the race, and I'm supposed to be getting in my car today or tomorrow and driving down I-95 and stopping in Northeast to get some crab cakes.
Like you have done every year for 38 years since you left or whatever, right?
Correct, and going to Chipperelli's and Little Italy and eating crabs on Saturday night. So, yeah, look, we'll all miss it. We've missed so much, and hopefully it'll all come back at some point. But yeah, you set your calendar by the third Saturday in May, and you go to Baltimore, and you go to the Preakness, and I've been at every one since 1979. So yeah, it's like it's part of me, and I will miss it, like we will all miss it, and like we've all missed so much. And hopefully sooner rather than later, some sort of normalcy will return.
I remember when this thing started, I was just pissed that Pearl Jam canceled. You know what I mean? Like in the beginning.
Sure.
And
sure.
and I was then I was out at an event and lacrosse canceled and then then the NBA happened later that night. It was just a mess, right? March 11, 12, 13, whatever. I mean, they're all running together now. My competitors started this like fake baseball league, and they were playing these games, and they were like, I can't even get into that. But then like a week and a half ago, my wife came to me and said, hey, honey, they're running the Derby today. It's all-time greats. And I looked at her and I deadpanned. I'm like, I hope Secretariat wins. And then later she's like, Secretariat won. I'm like, shocker, I don't know what we do for normalcy, but my wife and I on Preakness Day, I started to do this music thing this month on Facebook, Dick, and you're a music guy, right? I mean, you, me, Mike Marlowe, we go way back, and Marlowe and I reconnected over the night we met Paul McCartney together. We talked a couple of months ago about this, because I found my autographs, and I'm wondering what the hell do I do with them at this point? Do I auction it all? I mean, what do I do? It's not on the wall. It's in a box. It's been in a box for 35 years. What do I do with all of this stuff, right? These stuff. I mean, I was a music critic for 6 years. I love that stuff, right? So I've unearthed all this stuff, and people have been asking me in this challenge to list my 10 albums that were most influential in my life, right? And I've been like putting it off, and then the pandemic happened. It started in like January, and I'm like, finally Dave Geller, who's like the most connected musical dude ever. He's been all over the world with bands and managing, and he lives in Denver, and he's just everywhere, and he knows everybody, challenged me. And I'm like, why me? I'm like, why me? Why do you want me to do it? Like, you got 10 people in 10 days. You know everybody, and you know every band in the world. Why do you want me? And he's like, because you were connected to all these people, and I think people would be interested in it. And it kind of like moved me, and I'm like, well, that's really sweet of you when you put it that way. Let me, okay, I've been asked many times if you were on an island with 10 albums, would you take, all of that, what you would do in a pandemic if you're not going to learn, become fluent in Esperanto or something, or work on your Russian for when all this ends, or your Chinese, So, that's a cynical part of me, cynicalness. comedicness. So as this thing sort of winds down, I start making my album list, and I can't do 10. I'm on 12, I'm on 16, and I said to my wife, like literally on Kentucky Derby Day, I'm like, I'm going to do 16 just to get the Preakness Day. And she's like, well, we should do a video, and you should show your stuff, and I should ask you, have you tell the stories you've never told me, because you always have some story that you've never told me about this band or this drummer or whatever, or the time you ran around, L.A. with the people from Blondie and had hot dogs at Pink's. That's a true story. The time we ran into Sammy Hagar and got drunk with him in a wine cellar. Just stuff. We have stories. And I'm like, all right, we'll do it on Preakness Day since we're not going to the Preakness. So for 2 weeks, I've been planning this thing, and we've done these little things. And Royal Farms bought chicken sandwiches for nurses, so we did a big thing for them, which, thank you, Royal Farms. We love you. But so I have all the ticket stubs out, and I have all the stuff, and I'm going through it. Marty McGee and I did the Paul Simon night that we went together to see Paul Simon at Merriweather when he was the horse racing guy. So, I'm going to give you a little oxygen to do a little music, because I know, you're a music dude, and I'm doing all these things. So on Saturday, instead of doing the Preakness, instead of being with you in the 7th, 8th race around 4 o'clock, grabbing a crab cake, getting up, feeling the breeze, checking the weather, you're getting the binoculars out, seeing what's going on, we're going to be in my condo talking about concerts and drinking Tommy's margaritas, probably. Yeah, with fresh mint. I don't. So that's what we're doing in lieu. Because what do you like? You love racing, dude.
I like it. Well, the good news is a lot of the racetracks around the country are reopening this weekend. Santa Anita Park just got permission yesterday to open. In California, they're going to open tomorrow. No fans, obviously, but Churchill Downs is opening on Saturday. Charlestown is opening tonight. All no fans, but the sport, you can sit and watch it on TV and bet from your home. I mean, if you have a laptop, I know I've talked about Express Bet on your show, you can open up an account and you can bet. So it's the one sport that has continued through all of this. Now, not at a lot of tracks. Arkansas has been open, South Florida has been open, but now more and more tracks are opening. And I think my guess is Laurel will probably open in a week or so. They obviously have to get permission from Governor Hogan and all, but it sounds like they're heading in that direction. So from that standpoint, it's kind of cool. So I'll be able to watch some races. But yeah, if I could go to one mythical concert that I've ever been to, go back in time.
What concert did you really go to? What was your first concert?
Well, I don't know what my first concert was, but I can tell you to this day the best concert, and nothing will ever top it. The midnight show at the Howard Theater in Washington, James Brown. Went on for 4 hours. Unbelievable.
Did Marlo go to that with you?
He did not. I went with a friend of mine. I was a freshman at the University of Maryland, and he was the guy who knew about it. I knew nothing. He took me, and it was like, oh my God. It was just so eye-opening, and James Brown. I mean, nobody
I met James Brown once, and I told my wife this story the other day because it's the same time I met Neil Diamond. Back in 1987, HBO did a Vietnam Veterans Welcome Home concert at the Capitol Center on July 3rd. I Googled it. I looked it all up. There's an LA Times link that I shared. And on that bill, Linda Ronstadt, James Ingram, Chris Christopherson, John Fogerty, and I was in the backstage green room as a media, I was just back there,
Yep.
And Neil Diamond talked to me, and he autographed this thing, and we were going to do an interview, and I never really did the interview. I was disappointed, but James Ingram was really kind. John Fogerty asked me if I was related to Louis Aparicio and started talking baseball with me.
Very nice.
Yeah, so I have these stories that I've never told that story in my life because I haven't remembered it in 33 years. Now I have the ticket stub. I found the Neil Diamond autograph from that day. I have the James Ingram, John Fogerty. I found the link online. I found the video of Fogerty singing that night. They played sort of kind of in the round, and but James Brown was in the green room, dude, and he was bad, man. You know what I mean?
Hey, trust me, I experienced it. I think my memory is I might have gone back another time. I don't remember, but I remember that time. It was so funny because they would bring out bad bands before that so the fans could boo them. It was just phenomenal. And then just get everybody crazed for when James would come out.
Come on, man, you're a little older than me, so like, give me like, did you see Zeppelin? Did you see any of those? Like, I mean, Marlo always told me that he saw the Beatles, right? So, like,
Mike, Mike did. I did not. He saw him at the Civic Center. Yeah, Mike was way ahead of me on music. I caught up like more when I was in college. But yeah, and he would always have been ahead of me on that.
Best show you ever saw at the Spectrum. Come on, you saw something there. You lived there 40 years.
Yeah, right. I saw Springsteen. Yeah.
Enough said. Dick Jerardi is here, a long time, Philadelphia Daily News, not first time here. I've been doing radio, Dick. This would have been my 29th Preakness on the radio. And I think you've done all 20. I mean, literally. If Clem Florio were still alive, he would be on 29 right now. I found some pictures of Clem. I have channeled Ekman because McGee made me do it. Usually Marty Bass makes me do my Ekman.
Call a cab.
Yeah, I could bring you on and do like, this guy's been doing it up there in Philadelphia a long time up there, leader. Hey, how the horses running up there at Garden State, Dickie? Is that good?
Yeah, tremendous.
Right,
I miss Charlie to this day. I mean, what a legendary Baltimore character he was.
What do you miss about racing? Honestly, like over the last 2 months, obviously you miss hugging your kids or things that you miss or whatever. But like, I even said this to Marty. I'm like, was there 2 weeks where you haven't been at the track? And you're like, and not that he doesn't have other vocations at the Daily Racing Forum, but I mean, you called Penn State basketball. There was a lot of hope in Penn State basketball. The Terps were number 7. Were you in Chicago when all hell broke loose? Or
it was Indianapolis. That's where the
I'm sorry, my bad. Indianapolis.
Yeah, I was actually having dinner the night that Rudy Gobert tested positive in the NBA, canceled, and Penn State was supposed to play the next night against Indiana, and we all kind of looked at each other and said, this ain't happening. And by I think it was 11:45 the next day is when the Big Ten tournament was canceled. So, yeah, we all kind of knew. And then I came home on that day, the 12th. I was home by that night. So
40 years, the most surreal thing you've ever experienced. I mean, being trapped somewhere else too, right? Like I would think of all the things that happened other than being in a phone booth during the earthquake in '89, like Ken Rosenthal, at the paper. I mean, when you think of sort of weird things that happen, right? Like, I was at an Elton John concert that night, by the way, at the Capitol Center. But, for weird things, you're out at dinner in Indianapolis, place you've been a bunch. You'll never forget that one, right?
No, for sure. It was a bunch of us, maybe half a dozen of us, writers. Pat Forty from SI was there, Dan O'Neill from The Athletic, Brendan Quinn, old friends of mine, and we were just talking about whatever. And thinking, all right, well, we didn't exactly know what was happening at that point. You were trying to be smart. You weren't shaking hands. You were washing your hands, but none of us knew what was going to happen. So, yeah, I was actually concerned I wasn't going to be able to get back home. I had a flight. I didn't know when I was going to be flying because I didn't know when Penn State was going to lose. So I ended up deciding to jump on the team charter to State College that afternoon when they canceled it, and just rented a car and drove back home. Because you didn't know, you didn't want to get stuck. Who knew what was going to happen with airplanes?
So you're with the kids, and at that moment, did they realize that they lost all of a sudden and the season's over? You know what I mean? Like that. I can't imagine that emotion and being around Pat Chambers, or just being in that environment where, Penn State specifically, for what you do and all the drudgery, and, the Ravens were 14-2 this year, and they lost to the Titans, but it really would have been disappointing if this hit the first week of January and they never played, right? Like, literally,
that's right.
This was their 14-2 year, right?
Yeah, it was. They got ranked as high as number 9. They got to 20-5, and they had two really, really good seniors. One that was 1,000 points, 1,000 rebounds. Another got 2,000 point score. So, yeah, not the kind of thing that comes along every year at a school like Penn State. So, yeah, it was really disappointing when they canceled the Big Ten, but there was still hope that they were going to play the NCAA. They had said at that moment that they were going to play without fans, but as soon as the conference tournament started getting canceled, I thought I don't know how this is going to work. And we literally, as we landed in State College, everybody's phones went on, and the word came that the NCAA tournament was canceled. So, yeah, it was you just felt terrible for them. Yeah, it was them, and it was the high school players that never got a chance to finish their senior basketball seasons. I mean, it happened. It affected so many people. But, yeah, when you're close to a team and you're close to players and coaches who put so much into it, you just feel horrible it's one thing to lose. It's another thing not to get a chance.
Dick Jerardi has been my friend for all of my adulthood. I was 15 when I met you. I'm telling the stories about how Alex Van Halen and I were drinking beer in the summer of 1986 at the Spectrum underneath up there, and my mom answering the phone, and I'm in the shower, and she's like, Alex is on the phone for you. And I'm like, who? Alex Van Halen's on the phone for you. Yeah. So,
why wouldn't he be?
I have some stories. I have some almost famous tales that I'm going to tell, and some of them might even involve Mike Marlowe and Paul McCartney or Judas Priest. So,
well, there you go.
Hey, man, love you. I'm sorry we're not where we are. I mean, this is just the weirdest of times, and do you get the vibe that October you'll be coming down for a thing called the Preakness in Baltimore, and 5 years from now there'll be this glass thing on a hill in Northwest Baltimore, and we'll be 5 years older and better looking, and maybe the whole thing takes a better path. I certainly going to do my best. I mean, you remember when the Preakness was a big deal around here. That needs to happen again. Right, Dick? I mean, that's part of saving it is, okay, we've saved it. Now, how do we make it a festival again? How do we make it something everyone feels included in being a part of?
No, I agree. It's one of the great American sporting events. It's sporting events. It's the most attended event on the East Coast annually, and it's Baltimore's. It's a sense of pride in the city, and that needs to. I'm not there anymore, and I haven't been there for years, but I get the sense every time when I come in, it means something to people. But yeah, it needs to come all the way back to get it at the top. And I think what the new legislation, what it's going to do, it's going to get Pimlico back to where it once was. And yeah, I think it's great. And I do think the race is probably going to happen that first Saturday in October, fans or no fans. And if they're letting me in, I'll be there. I just don't know who they're going to let in if they have it. So, because isn't that one of the biggest problems with all of this, that nobody really can give you a date or a time because there's so many unknowns still about how this is all going to play out.
He is Dick Jerardi. He has been my friend for a bunch of years. He's up in Philadelphia still. Kids are still celebrating that Eagles championship. I mean, I told my wife, if there was ever a year to get a virus, get it when the Philadelphia Flyers have won like 12 or 13 in a row. You know, they're going to shut a season down because of this. Make it cost the Flyers, too. So at least I had that going. So, you got to keep a sense of humor here, Dick. You really do. You know?
Absolutely.
All right, so look, really important, because you gave me Springsteen as number one at the Spectrum. Give me number two. Give me number two. Come on.
Boy, number two at the Spectrum? I tell you what I saw recently at not the Spectrum, it's the new building up here. I don't know what they call it.
Whatever, yeah.
Wells Fargo Center. I saw Adele, and she was phenomenal.
Yeah. I was in the parking lot for a Springsteen show a couple summers ago, and Adele was playing inside the hockey rink, and Springsteen was playing inside the baseball stadium. And I got up there, and I parked in the rink, and I'm looking around, and it's a bunch of ladies drinking wine and stuff, and it just didn't feel like Springsteen. And it took me, I'm eating a cheesesteak because I went to talk of the town, you know what I mean? I'm all lathered up, and I got my music, and I got my little launch. I was alone because my wife was like with her family, or my wife may have been recuperating, and it was just me in Philly, old school, like I did for Rush and Genesis and Journey and Billy Joel back in the 80s. Yeah, like the night I saw Madonna in the middle of Game 4 of the World Series. I left the rain delay and went and saw Madonna, and I came back over and saw the Phillies win 18-16. So I got all these memories, right, about the Spectrum and Philly but that night was memorable because I was there for like 2 hours, and I'm like, it's kind of a different crowd for Bruce tonight. It's kind of, it's not kind of nice they're coming out for the river in this way. And then I realized like Adele was playing, and I'm like,
yes.
But I felt like an idiot. It was like 2 hours it went on. But I wasn't listening to the music they were playing because like I had 75, 85 cranked up, and I'm listening to like Asbury Park Sandy or something like that. And by the way, how great was Bruce and Patty doing Land of Hope and Dreams on that Jersey
Tremendous.
thing?
That was awesome. Yeah, they're the best.
Grab your ticket in your suitcase. Thunder's rolling down this track.
Hey, nobody
Dick,
better than those two.
We're going to sing some songs on Saturday. Tune in on Facebook Live, and I'll sing you a Springsteen song, all right?
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, pal.
All right, man. Well, hey, it's Preakness Day, and we're not spending it together. It's weird, bro, right?
I got it. It's very weird. I want to be on that elevator going up to the press box and take an hour to get there.
Can you and I make, like, a blood brother oath. Can we, if we could prick a finger right now and like make it, you and I have to go to the Palestra next year. Yeah, I have to go with you.
Yes. Well, you don't want to go unless you go with me. Yeah, I mean, it's just not worth it because I can show you the catacombs.
That's the only way I'm going. I've told my wife she's like, well, they play games up there. It's a couple bucks. Come on, we'll go up. We'll get a cheesesteak. Well, we love Center City. We'll go up. And I'm like,
all right, we'll go to Abner's, get some waffle fries and a cheesesteak. Walk down to the Palestra and we'll get it done. And you can take the train up here. It's like a 2-block walk from the train station. You don't even have to drive.
When I become president, the train's going to be more affordable. I'll drive.
There's that problem. Yeah, I hear you. That's one of the more bizarre things ever. Why that's so expensive, but who knows?
We all have questions. We're all in search of answers, which is why I come to you, Dick Jerardi. All right, man, we're going to do Palestra, though. It is serious sports bucket list. I'm embarrassed I haven't been there, and we just need to find the right date, whenever the right date is, but it's something I really need to do. All right?
Yeah, it was one of the highlights of the basketball season last year. Penn State played Iowa there on a first Saturday of January. It was awesome. It was a great day.
How did I not go? I was planning for the Ravens to go to the Super Bowl. They didn't go to.
Yeah, you were in the middle of your football mayhem.
I was mourning the death of Neil Peart at that point, I think. So
I have no doubt. And you were getting ready for the Ravens and the Chiefs to play for the Super Bowl, and you're still waiting for that to happen. But maybe next year.
I'm waiting on those Terps, playoff games, and you're waiting on Penn State, and we're waiting on Preaknesses and derbies and all that, and hopefully we'll all get back to normal things, and we can get Springsteen back on the stage to throw that party he was bragging about a couple weeks ago. All right?
There you go. I like it.
Appreciate you, Dick. Dick Jerardi, my dear friend. Rogers Forge, Baltimore guy. Old school Oriole, old school Colt guy. Old school Sports First News Post guy. Up at the Philadelphia Daily News, now in semi-retirement. They put him out to stud at State College, where he calls basketball games, or at least does when they play basketball. And goes to rock concerts and gives me cheesesteak eating places when I'm in Philly. Headed up there to see Tommy Conwell and the Young Rumblers. That might appear in the top 31 of my May albums. Maybe. I hope so. Nasty at WNST.net finds me. Keeping calm, staying safe, staying local. We are WNST.net, AM 1570. Keeping it Preakness in Baltimore. Keeping my pink seersucker on to honor the black-eyed Susan, and staying Baltimore positive.